Hello out there, and welcome to the Danny.
And Rihanna show. This is Danny Pena, Rihanna's husband.
And this is Rihanna Manuel Pena, Danny's wife. And today we're going to talk about something that we watched together this morning, you, me, and our baby Violet, and really loved and had a lot of conversations both between you and me and with even some of the people that we work with and, other content creators, and just this really positive energy and really great discussion around something we saw today and how we feel about this practice in the games industry in general. So, Danny, why don't you let the people know what the heck I'm talking about?
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about the new game that's coming out sometime next year. It's called South of Midnight, which it takes place in the South. If you're into, Louisiana, New Orleans, and all that stuff, and also has that Haitian culture. It also reminded me of like True Blood, that type of vibe.
Yeah, like that southern gothic horror vibe to it.
Which I
Yeah.
love. I love. And actually, people always will tell me, and my cousins have done this before, where they went to New Orleans and they've done like the haunted house, like the haunted tour, and all that stuff around that area. So it's really cool to see that they're bringing that into a game. And we got to watch a documentary. It's like 30 minutes long, from Compulsion Games,
Yes.
and they're under part of the Xbox studio umbrella. So it's really exciting to see that. I'm glad that we got to see a lot of the behind the scenes, not just like, okay, here's our game. It was more about the culture, how they did a lot of research on that type of story and history. And it was really cool seeing the behind the scenes. And they traveled everywhere. They went to like the South. They went to Nashville for music. They also went to Abbey Studios
Abbey
and
Road.
Abbey Road Studios in the UK. And they did a lot of traveling. Great editing. Great to see the cast also part of the documentary. That's also part of like the mocap and voice acting. It was really amazing. I had an amazing time watching it. And also got me excited for the game too.
Yeah, so in case you haven't seen a behind the scenes game documentary before, if that's one of those things in the games industry that's a little bit further past the nerddom than what you usually get into. What happens is there is a camera crew and an editing crew and a director and producers, and they follow the people who are making the game from Compulsion Studios
Mm-hmm.
and interview them. They talk to them about how they were inspired by, different folklore or different music from the South or different locations and visual landscapes that they saw. As Danny described, they were traveling to these places in the deep South in the United States and, finding different inspiration for the characters and the animation and the sounds that you'll hear in the game that they're building. Again, this is called South of Midnight. And during the course of these interviews, they've also pulled footage from following the people around as they're, visiting the locations in person or opening a storybook that really inspired some of the visuals or even going to a fabrication studio where they hand build different claymation models and things like that that inspire some of the art style of the game. And while they're talking about this, you're seeing this background behind the scenes footage of their experience building this game. You also get to cut to different scenes of gameplay that are directly referencing the inspirations the creators are talking about. And it's a really cool way to see all of the different things that go into making a video game. It's really easy to forget that it's more than your typical movie, right? Because we think of cinema as very similar to video game creation, and it's really a whole nother level of involvement. Yes, you have storyboards. Yes, you have actors. We got to see a lot of the actors and stunt coordinators and stunt actresses in their mocap suits, which you'll recognize from different CGI videos that you see in both movies and games. But more than just like the people who are writing the stories or bringing them to life visually, they're the people who are designing the environments for the games. They're designing the fight encounters. They're coming up with the lore and the sort of narrative behind why your hero character is fighting these monsters, or why they're setting some free versus some that need to just be put down. Like there's so many different layers that come along with making a video game, that it's really fun to explore it and hear directly from the people who are crafting this experience. And I know you said this makes you excited for the game, Danny. It was
Mhm.
already on my radar because it had a black female protagonist, and I have a lot of family from the South. But I'm even more excited to see this game when it's finally available, and play it, because I feel now like I know part of the story of making it. I feel like I'm part of the history and the narrative. Like I'm personally invested in seeing this succeed now, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about these behind the scenes documentaries that don't come along with every single game.
Yeah, I totally agree with you about that, and also for those who are also watching or listening to this episode, this podcast, you can also watch Paris from Gamertag Radio. He went to Compulsion Games. He went to the event, got to see the game, and also talk to the cast and also game director of the game. So if you want to watch his YouTube channel, go check it out, Paris Lily, or go to Gamertag Radio, and it's the latest episode. You're gonna check it out there. So right now, the one that just came out first is the one with the cast, and then tomorrow, by the time you listen to this, it will be out, is with the game director. So yeah, listen to both, and it's really cool to learn more about how people got into the project and everything, and I'm glad to see people that are not black. Let's say for example, white folks that are actually doing research and going to the location and hiring people that knows a lot about the area of the South, and then knows a lot of like stories, haunted stories from back in the days. I'm glad to see
Music.
music and
Mm-hmm.
voice acting. Like I think it feels right. It feels like it doesn't, like I've seen projects where they've done this type of thing before, but it doesn't. It's like the research is bad. This one, I think they did an amazing job overall, and they broke it down. They showed us like the team. They did like a whole 2 week tour of all around the location in Louisiana. They travel a lot, went to the forest. Like they even talked to like a consultant that knows a lot about that history. They did a pretty good job with that. I think. Well, what you think about that, Ree? Seeing that from a company like Compulsion, they're not in the United States. They're actually in, I believe, in Montreal, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But there's people that got the job and moved to Montreal to work on this project, and also working with a lot of people in the local area of Louisiana. What do you think about that overall?
Yeah, I think it's really important because if you're going to tell a story about a place, you need to tell the story about the place, right? And you can't fabricate that in your mind unless you have that experience or you seek out people who have that experience to help bring you into that world. And there are different consulting groups that can do that, but there's really nothing that beats being in that place or going to that place and really just experiencing firsthand what it's like to be in Appalachia, in the deep south, in the bayou, in the swamps. It really
Mm-hmm.
does completely change that experience. Like you understand the sounds, the smells, like what the air feels like, and all of that comes together for the best possible representation in a game to bring everybody else into that world, right? Because not everyone's going to have that experience, and it's just a testament to how empathetic and impactful and transformative video games can be when they just invite you to come into a space and to inhabit a world that is, yes, influenced by real life, but also dialed to 11 in fantasy and magic. And it's just really beautiful to see all of it come together that way. Something that I want to ask you, Danny, because
Sure.
you do many, many interviews with Gamertag Radio. You're quite seasoned at it, but this is different, right? When you get to see the people doing the work, when you get to see them going to the places and experiencing the things that inspired them. Like, what are some of the things that you've seen that are similar to this documentary that really get you excited about a game, like above and beyond just hearing from the people who worked on it.
Yeah, I just want to learn more of like how they worked on the project. Like for example, with this one, I'm glad to see them going to the location, things like that, or doing research, reading different type of books that will help them to be more creative with their project. I love seeing that. Sometimes in the past we only get to see, the developer just working on the game. You see them like, with their computer and that's it.
Just clicking
That's, I
away.
mean, that's cool and all, but like seeing the developers going to the location and talking to the people that knows a lot about that area, about the culture, about the history, that gets me excited because I also want to learn more about it too. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's all about the presentation overall, and also they're willing to learn more about it too. Like I love seeing that. When it's just in the studio locked up in there, like I feel like you're inside of a bubble and not really getting out there to the world. I feel like watching the video, I feel like, oh man, I want to be part of this world too. I want to get to see the main characters, the villains, the boss battles. Like, it's pretty cool seeing that overall.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that there are little details like watching the mocap actors, and you even pointed this out. One the I think the acting and directing coordinator is the gentleman who played Jar Jar Binks from
Yep.
the Star Wars series.
Yep.
And having like talent at that level, right, and experience at that level, like there with this actress who's playing the playable character, and directing her and saying like, oh, at this part you're really scared, so you want to make sure that you're moving in this kind of way, and seeing that translate into the little people in the screen that we're controlling with when we get the game in our own hands is really, really neat. And another thing that I also really love seeing is the little moments where you can draw a direct line from the inspiration of the in real life experiences to the game experience. So the main game, I believe he was the director, was saying like he grew up in the South, and he would wander around and be in the swamps and just start coming up with stories in his head about the things he would see there. Like he'd see an abandoned building in the middle of the forest, and like, why is this here? Where are the people who made it? What happened to them? And he would just, his imagination would start making up stories about them. And that's what inspired this game. Like things like that are really beautiful. And also little things like, as the game progresses, as your character starts to open herself up more to the fantastical, the magical things in the world, you start to hear more and more music in the background of the game. Like there are more sounds in the background, ambient music, and it's almost like the forest begins talking to her, and it's like things like that I feel like you don't always get in a one-to-one interview about like, okay, how long did it take you to develop this game, and what was it like building the team, you know what I mean, like those are things that you can enjoy, but it's even more beautiful when you can see and hear the things they're talking about in the background while they're speaking, and you don't really get that in a one-on-one interview. And I'm just really glad that this documentary exists. I'm glad that people are still making these types of documentaries about video games, because again, this process is so special, and unless you've been in it, it's so hard to describe to people. So showing is the best way to communicate it. And I can think of a couple of other game documentaries. They're small,
Oh
that
yeah,
have
which ones?
really
I'm
stayed
very
with me too.
very
Yeah,
curious to hear about it.
one is a little bit further back, and I have a little bit of bias for this, but it was for Ori and the Blind Forest when
Oh.
they talked with Thomas and Gennady, who made that game, and led Moon Studios, and talked about how they recorded all of the orchestral audio in an old, church, because the acoustics just make it feel so familiar yet otherworldly, and it's just incredible sound. And just hearing the music of Ori again, because this is Ori and the Blind Forest is not a game about humans or on Earth, right? It's it's a magical place, it's a fantasy, and these characters are nothing that we've ever seen before, but they still feel all of those emotions that are so familiar to us, right? There's famous moment in the opening section of Ori where everybody cries because it's such a familiar and such a real emotion and life event to lose somebody. And there's something that's really cool about just hearing how intentional that team was about making that sound come to life to support that gameplay experience, and that was really beautiful. And a shout out to Tell Me Why, which I actually helped produce a number of
Yeah.
documentaries where, again, the team flew out to the place that they were making the game about and experienced it. They heard the sounds. There's one clip in particular where the audio director, she's holding a microphone up to an iceberg to hear what it sounds like and to record it so they could put that sound into the game because, unless you're from Alaska or from a place that's similar, you don't know what ice sounds like, right? Like if you live in a city, you've never heard the sound of ice in the background. And I think it's just really special that they went to such lengths to make sure they represented that environment really well and those people really well. And then another one that's way more recent from our friends at Viewpoint, Alex Van Eken, shout out to friend of the show. He interviewed Gareth Coker for Hades 2 and the music in that game, which is amazing yet again, and builds on the award-winning soundtrack. And honestly, he does voices, he does the sound, like he's doing everything. Gareth is incredibly talented, but it's building on Hades 1 and taking it to an even new height, which, how could they even do that? Like, it's a literally award-winning classic game. And it's really cool to see the attention to detail, the care, and watch the people making the art that goes into these games. So yeah, those are ones that just stick out in my mind. I've seen a number of them, and I love making them. I love being part of bringing them to the people, and I get kind of nerdy about it. But it's just something that you don't get to see all the time, and it's one of the things that, as a former game developer and a current game consultant, really inspires me. And I wish more people saw this side of it because this is what the magic really is,
Yeah, I mean, there was a part in the documentary where they were talking about the music, and there was this lady that she was singing, and her voice was so amazing. I even told Ree, "Oh my god, I'm getting goosebumps."
Yeah,
Oh my
you turned
god!
to me, you're like, I have chills.
Yeah, in real time, like I love seeing that, and I think that part is going to be exciting when the game comes out, and I'm playing it for the first time at home, and I'm probably gonna get that moment again. There's probably gonna be multiple goosebumps. But I think watching the documentary gave me an idea of like what I'm gonna expect in the future while playing it. And I'm prepared. I learned a lot within 30 minutes watching this,
Yeah.
right? And so, yeah, I'm ready for what's next after this. Really, really, yeah.
Yeah. So knowing that this game is coming out, there's a lot of other things. Again, South of Midnight from Compulsion Games and Xbox. Keep an eye out for it. But knowing that there are a lot of things on the horizon, what are some titles coming up that you hope to see more of like a behind the scenes documentary style update on?
Ooh, yeah. I think Fable will be good.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Fable. I love playing the previous games, so I'm very excited, and I'm just curious, like how this one is going to be different and why.
It looks very different.
I mean, it's a different developer working on this, So because there's Playground Games, they usually worked on Horizon, the Horizon series. So I'm very curious to see what they're gonna do with this
You mean
one.
the Forza
So,
Horizon series?
yeah, Forza Horizon.
Not
Yeah,
not Horizon Forbidden West or
no.
Just wanna make
Forza
sure.
Horizon, but it's
Forza
it's
Horizon.
called the Horizon hit
Right.
series, But so that one is. I'm very curious to learn more about that one. I also want to check out. Well, they already did it a little bit with Alan Wake. I think like little
Yeah.
clips here and there. Yeah,
I
with
mean,
Alan Wake
it's
2.
not a bad idea to get more.
Not a bad idea. But actually, if they're working on Control, they're working on Control 2. I would like to see the behind the scenes on that one.
Control 2 would be a really good one.
Yeah, that's 100%. And not only that too, but I know Nintendo's releasing a new console next year.
Yeah.
I would love to see a documentary on that also, in a way where what are the things that they've learned from the previous console? What are the things that, they've been adding in this console reactions from developers. I want to hear their excitement of
Hmm.
have porting their games or working on games to this new console. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Cool. I know a
And
couple for me. Doom the Dark Ages. Like I just want to see
ooh,
I just want to
yes,
see that team and how they've like taken some like, medieval and more metal elements and incorporate that into the Doom games because like they've been amazing lately. And
yeah.
I'm curious to know like how they're pushing the envelope for this next one. Fable for sure.
Hmm.
I'd also love to get an update on like how they're building the world of Ghosts of Yotai. I know that Sucker Punch
Oh
did an
yes.
incredible job with Ghost of Tsushima, and everybody's really excited for this follow up. And I want to know more about like what inspired them to take the story in a new direction, like a new protagonist, like several centuries I think or several generations removed from the first game, and how that's changed the world. Like I want to know more about the world and why they made those decisions. And the other one is this really interesting game. It's called Clair Obscure Expedition 33.
Oh yeah,
And
the RPG
it's an
game.
RPG, but it's
Hmm.
it's kind of like a high fantasy, and there's this interesting world building where, every year the all of the people a certain age pass away, and that number comes down and lower every year. And it's like it was developed by Sandfall Interactive, and I haven't heard of this studio before. And so there's a lot of interesting unknowns here. Like there, I don't know, like it's easy to be skeptical with a new IP when there's a lot of celebrity around it. Some of the voice actors are very famous,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of fanfare and hype, right? Before you actually know what the actual game or story are. This one's actually working for me. Like it's working to get me hyped because of the level of talent involved in the pedigree of the people who are bringing their expertise and their skills to this project.
Hmm.
And the world is just so compelling and interesting, and something I've never heard before. Like, in a world of so many sequels and remixes and remasters and reboots, it's nice to see something original. And yeah, I'm just fascinated by this. I want to know
Good.
how they came up with this and where they're taking their inspiration from. So, yeah, hopefully we get more of these documentary style pieces, even if they're short, just to get a little peek behind the curtain of the magic of inspiring video games.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Anything else for you? Because I know we got to wrap it up here.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm really glad we had this conversation because it's not every day that we see something, on YouTube that makes us like really happy and excited and want to go do more stuff, this really gave me the energy I needed right now to
Hmm.
kind of recommit emotionally and mentally to all the projects that we're working on. And yeah, I'm glad it exists. Thank you, Xbox, for putting this out, and congrats to Compulsion. Can't wait to play the game.
Yeah, definitely. And everyone, please let us know. Are you excited for South of Midnight? Let us know under the comment section below. And yeah, we're gonna be out, and we'll be back next week. We got a lot of cool content coming up in the future. Something we're working on, but I'm excited to talk about it. So everyone, make sure to follow us on any podcast app. Just search for the Danny and Riana Show, or subscribe on YouTube if you discover us. And please share the content. Tell people about our show. Okay. All right. Until next time, we're out.